Alechem, Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Baruch haba. Welcome, please come in. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, glad to see you. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Time with you is precious, it hurries by so fast. All too soon the future soon becomes the past. But now we are together in friendship and in peace. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Shalom Alechem, Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Baruch haba. Welcome, please come in. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, glad to see you. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Like Abraham, our father, we greet you with shalom. Like Sarah, our mother, our home is your home. With thanks to our Creator, we gather here to sing. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Shalom Alechem, Hevenu Shalom Alechem, Baruch haba. Welcome, please come in. Hevenu Shalom Alechem, glad to see you. Hevenu Shalom Alechem. Hevenu Shalom, Shalom Alechem.
You've just heard Hevenu Shalom Aleichem. I composed this in the camping folk guitar style to remind listeners of Abraham and Sarah's holy sense of hospitality. This evening, we too welcome everyone at home watching and listening. Besides these fine performances by Rabbi Sharon and company, the interesting aspect of this online concert is that this composer is still alive to share with you what he was thinking at the time that he composed this music. I say this because at one weekend convention when I was still in my 20s, and the reform and conservative movements were both featuring my camp settings, I went up to one teenager who was singing one of my songs that I had just composed during the previous summer and asked him, "Who wrote that music?" He politely shrugged his shoulders and said, "I don't know, we've been singing it forever, it's traditional." I soon gleaned that you know that you are a success in Jewish music when everybody sings your music, but nobody knows your name, and everything you write is traditional. But I do have a name. It is Michael Isaacson, and I'd like to tell you briefly about my formative years. I went to a yeshiva in Brooklyn for the first 8 years of my education and read and write Hebrew fluently. Unfortunately, the emotional aspects of being educated by Talmudically trained European rebbes who are remnants of the Holocaust and really didn't want to be teaching spoiled Brooklyn kids the fundamentals of primary texts and Yiddishkeit, left many scars physically and mentally with me, and the resolve to create a world of Judaism that I never knew or was shown at yeshiva became central to my thinking and eventual art form. There was no music in my yeshiva until the 8th grade, and thank God for Cantor David Fastag, Zichrono Livracha, who started a little choir so that we could get a taste of Jewish musical works. His example opened up the right side of my brain, and as the light and fresh air flooded in, I was convinced for all of my career how important music is for experiencing a completely satisfying and fully Jewish life. I attended Madison and Sheepshead Bay high schools, where I played piano and brass instruments, and went on to receive my bachelor's in music education from Hunter College. I later earned a master's in composition at Brooklyn College, studying with Robert Starrer, and then after teaching music for the New York City Board of Education, went back to earn a PhD in composition from the Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York, where I studied with Samuel Adler. From there, I taught college music and was also music director of Tifereth Israel in Cleveland, Ohio. I met and married my wife Susie there, and we set off to Hollywood to establish my career as a film music composer. After 45 years of exciting freelancing and working with and for some of the most talented professional composers and musicians, and parenting two fine sons who have gifted us with 6 delightful grandchildren, we opted for semi-retirement and relocated to Boynton Beach, Florida, where I am talking to you now. Ironically, I am writing almost as much now as I ever did before. This is an overview of my life in a nutshell. But now I want to take you back to the summer immediately after I graduated from Hunter College, when I was looking for a summer job. In previous summers, I had always assumed the position of music and dramatics counselor at various camps, where I stayed in the dark, dank playhouse of summer, all summer producing and playing for musicals, and came home at the end of the summer as pale as I was at the beginning. This graduation summer, I wanted the luxury of a tan. So I heard about a camp that was looking for a lifeguard. Perfect. This camp was the National Federation of Temple Youth training program at Kutz Camp in Warwick, New York. I happily sat at the edge of a pool and saved faculty kids from drowning in 2 feet of water, and bunked with a then student rabbi, Lawrence Kushner. Rabbi Kushner has gone on to become a noted author of Jewish mystical wisdom and a fine artist of oils as well. On one occasion, Larry said to me, "You graduated with a music degree. I need original prayer settings for a folk music service that I'm in charge of this Erev Shabbat. And you, my friend, are the perfect one to compose them." I answered, "You're looking at the wrong guy. I'm a lifeguard this summer, and all I want to do is get a tan and be around pretty girls in bathing suits." He persisted in his request, and so to get him off my back, I went to a shack on the baseball field that housed an old beat-up piano, and during my lunch breaks wrote popular music for about 7 settings that caught on with the campers as the first nifty folk service. Camp culture moved at a rocket's pace during those heady times. I would write a song in the morning, teach it to a song leader at 10:30, who would then present it to the campers after lunch. And by the evening, the whole camp knew it by heart and sang it with gusto. At the conclusion of their camp stays, they would take these future tunes home to their cantors, who eagerly adapted them for temple services. In a flash, I had unwittingly gone from summer lifeguard to synagogue music composer. None of it was really planned. It was all buoyantly serendipitous and mystical in the famous Lawrence Kushner style. To introduce 2 of these settings from that first nifty summer, I wanted to show you contrasting texts that I found and how I musically related to each of them. First, the adoration, what we now call Aleinu, was still used by Reform worshipers employing the Union Prayer Book. The text was beautiful in its formal use of the English language. I immediately related to it as a quasi-art song and said it just as formally. The other setting, the V'ahavta, needed to be set in a popular folk way that encouraged kids to own it and to sing and memorize the central words. It was a guitar-conceived accompaniment. So, in these two camp songs, you can appreciate the stylistic fence that Jewish music was perched upon during the summer of 1967. On one side was the formality of classic reform liturgy, and on the other, a generation's need to break away and create a new liturgy, a new sound that was both iconoclastic and, in retrospect, visionary. I was merely the conduit and was there to know both sides and to compose transitional settings at the right time and place. Here is Sharon to sing the Adoration, followed by V'ahavta.
Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto Him who spread out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. He is our God, there is none else. We bow the head in reverence and worship the King of Kings, the Holy One. Praised be the King of Kings, the Holy One. Praised be ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, the Holy One. Praised be HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy One. Praised be Amen. La 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 ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. לה 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 la 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 והיו הדברים Sacha hayom alevabecha, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la, la 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 la. Vishinan tam levanecha, v'dibotabam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'derech, uvshochbecha uvkumecha, ugkshartam leot ayadecha, totafot ben enecha, uchtavtam, amezuzot beitecha, amezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha. La 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 la, la la